Hi, I'm Jesse. I have a lot of books and I want to share them with you. Today we're looking at the top 20 most beautiful books that I own. Now these are books that are just stunning to look at. They're really well produced. I'm a big proponent of the fact that you can judge a book by its cover. In a lot of cases, the quality that's gone into the book cover corresponds to the quality that went into the book. Obviously, that's not always true, but in this case, with these 20 books, I think it is. And they're all recommended as great books, not just beautiful, but enjoyable to read and excellent. And I hope that you like them all. So we're starting off the list with Epic Bike Rides of the World. Now, I don't own a bicycle. I am not a cyclist. I don't even know how to ride a bike, unfortunately. But I saw this book and it was absolutely beautiful. In fact, the cover is so nice, such a nice illustration, that I turned it into a puzzle that my wife and I did. It's just a stunning book. It has just these great photos, all different bike rides of the world. And then these illustrations, which is what I really liked, are scattered throughout. And here's an example of one of the illustrations. Just a really beautiful book. If you ride a bike, take a look at it. If not, I guess if you're someone who likes to collect books like me, you should buy it anyway. This book, number 19, is Hamilton from the show. My wife and I got to see the show with the original cast, and I picked up this book. It actually got flooded. It got a little waterlogged, so it's a little warped. But I think it gives it character because it's meant to be sort of an old-timey, classic 18th century looking book with this ragged edge binding here. And no, the binding's the other side, which is nice. And again, looks like a classic book. But whatever they call this end is ragged cut and is really nice. It has all the lyrics to the entire show, photos, everything. It's really well put together. The quality of the paper is really nice. And the whole thing just gives you this impression of a real classic, authentic book. It's just really beautiful, really well done, and it's so nice to have a souvenir or memento of the show. So this is Hamilton. Okay, this is a series. This is on my beach, on my leaf, in my ocean, in my patch, in my barn, on my rooftop, in my jungle. I don't know what they are. But these are baby books, and our daughter loved them. What's really cool about them is they have this little character in the center, and you put your finger in, and the character moves around. And each one tells about the character in their place, and ends with the fact that they're with their family. And it's really heartwarming. This was one of my favorites on my beach. Just look at the color. It's got this great tan and blue and orange. It's really nice, and all of them are great. And on the shelf together, they look fabulous. Okay, coming in at number 17 is Skyscrapers, a book that is so big that you can't see my face. This is enormous. It's actually one of two. There's one on bridges as well that I don't have, that I would love. But, I mean, what a suitable format for this topic, right? Just the perfect idea to do a book this size. Every spread is a different famous skyscraper. And they're just beautiful photography with then facts about the skyscraper. And it's just really well done, really nicely formatted book. Number 16. This is an art book of the art of Brian Stelfreeze. He's a famous comic book artist and mainly for doing covers. And he's just a wonderful painter. He paints this beautiful, beautiful work. These rich colors, these vibrant colors with this stylized sort of spiky design for people. He's famous, and I got to know him for doing hundreds of Batman covers. and it's just his artwork is beautiful. This book is amazing. I got this book in this Japanese bookstore by Bryant Park that has a whole second story of art books and manga and comic books. It's a really cool place. You should check it out. And this book is excellent. This next one, to cheer you up, Hellboy in Hell. Hellboy is a comic book character. I have all of his books. He's become really well known. 3 movies. His creator, Mike Mignola, did this entire book himself, and it's oversized. It's just beautifully drawn and designed. In this story, Hellboy goes to hell. I guess that's pretty obvious. But it's really, really well done. And there's a couple pages of beautiful watercolor in it that sort of come out of nowhere as like a dream. And that's really cool. And it reminds me of these classic illustrations from the Divine Comedy, from Dante, the Dore illustrations. And they're just these really beautiful etchings, engravings rather, that are stunning and classic and remind me of Hellboy's Journey into Hell, which is written to sort of be like that same classic journey. So some of those books are so heavy they're hard to lift, but these are the lightest, the smallest. These are 2 little sketchbooks called As of Lately, and they're by, let's see, Katie Lacker, and I picked them up, I think, at a comic book convention. I collect a lot of artist sketchbooks, and these, I just really like the color, the format. They're monochromatic. They're just printed with a single color, whether this one is blue, the other one is a red, and they just have these excellent illustrations, really slice of life about her travels and her living in, I believe, Brooklyn, and just excellent little drawings of little things that happen and are around. And they're just really well done. Okay, so for number 13, you'll have to indulge me. This is a little self-promoting, but I designed this cover. This is my wife's book, Hungry for Life, and I'm very proud of it. I think it's one of the best illustrations I've ever done. It's copied from a photo of her from college, and this is a memoir of her struggle with anorexia. And I really like the colors. I really like the angles I was able to do. This is a style I don't do that often, but I think the book came together really nicely, and I'm really proud of it, so I'm promoting it here. Check it out. Okay, this is a classic book, but it's new to me. I just read this last year, The Name of the Wind. Definitely one of the best fantasy books I've ever read. It's by Patrick Rothfuss, and it's this excellent fantasy tale, and this is the 10th anniversary edition. It has a quote on the back from Lin-Manuel Miranda, and this red paper here is really cool. Really nice touch. The illustration on the front is beautiful. The whole book has some illustrations in it, a map, just really nicely put together as like a special edition of the original book. Oh my God, this is so big. This is a book of photographs of New York. The cover was what struck me originally. The color, the lighting. Look at the whole thing. It's preposterous. This was hard to get on my shelf. I had to sort of hold it vertically behind something else on top of a shelf. But the photographs are beautiful, and I'm biased. Anything New York. I live in New York, and this really spoke to me. Okay, this is book 1 of 4. I have all 4 of the Absolute Sandman, the collection of the classic comic series. It's this really nice slipcase edition. It has a spine that looks like a classic book with these little bumps. Ribbon, always a nice touch. This book's extremely heavy, and my wife gave it to me on a trip to Florida, and I had to carry it back from Florida to New York. I didn't walk or anything. It was on a plane, but it was extremely heavy. But it was worth it. It's an excellent book. Okay, number 9. These are different from a lot of the fancy, huge art photography books on the list. These are little white books. They're very plain. They're very ordinary, but they're very elegant and simplistic in their design. These are Harvard Business Review's series on emotional intelligence. Each one has 10 articles in it, excerpted from Harvard Business Review, that are excellent on all these different topics: mindfulness, focus, happiness, dealing with difficult people. And you can see here that I read them all and marked them up with sticky tabs, and the different location of the tabs means different things to me, just marking my favorite articles here. There's one that doesn't have any tabs in it, and it's here on the end, and that's because it's in Portuguese, so I didn't read it. It's the Portuguese version of the empathy one. And I was visiting Brazil and saw it in the store, and I was like, oh my God, it's one of my favorite books. I need to collect this as a souvenir. So I did. And very cool to have at least one sort of fun, in another language, version of the books. The books themselves are beautiful with this gold, sort of copper embossing on them, and the texture is like watercolor paper. It's really nice. Okay, we've got two books here. These are about Chuck Close, the famous artist. So they came out at the same time by the same author, a book about his life, a biography, and a book of his art. And together they make a wonderful set. His art is spectacular. He did a lot in the New York subway system, did a lot of famous photorealistic and then more stylized art. And the size of the book is great. It's really heavy, and it really showcases his artwork well. Okay, number 7, these 3 books by Brian Selznick. These are children's books. They're excellent. This one's Hugo Cabaret, which is a movie, as the cover tells us, and also a Caldecott Medal winner, which is a famous children's prize. The spines are really cool with these pictures of the kids, the protagonists, on them. And I have them signed, actually, from Books of Wonder, which is a great kids bookstore. And they're really cool. And I'm a fan of any book that tries a new format. And the format here is double-page spreads of pencil-drawn pictures that are really, really stunningly beautiful and detailed, mixed in with text. See if I can find any text here. Mixed in with pages of text. And it advances the story and tells you what's going on. And in the dramatic moments, it's dramatic images and then fills in with text as well. And it's just such a cool idea and really beautifully done. Okay, let's get a real classic on the list. This is War and Peace. You may have heard of it. It is a large book. I read it, even though I got this version, I actually read it on my Kindle, which is a lot of page swipes. Because when you read one of these pages, you could read for a long time and still end up on the same page, and it's hard to keep your place with the bookmark. But what's cool about this, these are a famous pair of translators that translated a lot of classic Russian novels, and I got the book signed by them, which is really nice. Of course, when you say you have a signed copy of War and Peace, it's a little anticlimactic to say it was signed by the translators, but I really respect them. They did an excellent job. The book's wonderful, and it's still nice to have some signatures. Speaking of signature, that was my wife's suggestion to segue with that. I thought it was pretty good. These are the signature editions of Shakespeare. I have 2 of them. I think there's 5. I need to collect the rest. This is Hamlet and Much Ado About Nothing. And these are cut paper. The cover is cut paper with these different layers of color, and the insides have cut paper illustrations. They're just stunning and detailed and delicate and fragile and really well done. And even the way that the whole play itself is typeset with notes and everything is really, really beautifully done. Great collector's editions. Okay, I don't know how I'm going to show you this one adequately. This is Megalopolis. This is a kid's book, and it's vertical. It folds out and expands. It's about this little alien that visits this huge city. And the whole book expands out like this. But it's over 10 feet long. So that gives you an idea of the length. You can spread it out on the floor and follow the little alien as he goes through, and kind of like a Where's Waldo, where all these little characters are dancing around and following him and welcoming him to the city. And it goes along with this story that's printed with it. And it's just very, very cool. Such a clever idea, and the artwork is stunning. Okay, I've got to say this one quick because I'm not sure the table can hold the weight of this. This is the collected Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes was a comic strip in the 90s. It's my favorite of all time. It's a lot of people's favorite of all time. It's stunning. And these are just excellent collection of the entire run. But this book is so heavy. And it's worth it, though. It's just an excellent collector's item to have. It's beautiful inside and out. Everything about it is just really well done and thought through in terms of the design. And it's definitely one of my favorites. Okay, so we got all the way to number 2. And number 2 are these little books, very short introductions. Now, these aren't as stunning as some of the big ones, but what they lack in size, they make up for in quantity. Here's just a handful, but I have over 100, and there's over 600 in print, which is insane. They're little nonfiction books on all sorts of topics. Here's Modern Brazil, Big Data, Computer Science, Decolonization, Criminology. These are just some of the ones that I happened to pick off the shelf. Gandhi was one of my favorites. You can see a lot of tabs here. Excellent biography and history of Gandhi. Architecture was one of my favorites. Photography. There's just forests was one, just all about forests. They're excellent introductions into these topics. They're a little academic. They're a little dense, but because they're so short, that's okay. And they have illustrations and charts and graphs, and they're really put together. And every cover has this Rothko-esque painted horizontal stripes of different colors. And all together, the colors make this beautiful mixed up rainbow design, which is stunning on the shelf. This brings us to number 1. These are the Louis Vuitton travel book series. They are actually published by Louis Vuitton, which is really interesting and good for them. And each one, and I have all 23, focuses on a different artist who they got to travel to a new country and paint or illustrate beautiful drawings, like a travelogue of that country. This is one of my favorites. It's Watercolors of Mexico, and all of them are completely different styles, and the joy is seeing all these different styles come together. The book themselves are just printed with a ribbon with the little strap that goes around it, you know, one of those little strap things. It's really cool. The colors are beautiful. The spines all together. The whole books are such collector's items. They're really expensive. It took me many years to save up to collect them all, but they look great on the shelf. They're by far my favorite books, my most beautiful books, and I really recommend tracking them down and finding them. You can get them on the Louis Vuitton website. That's it for the most beautiful books that I own. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you check some of them out. Please like and subscribe. Hit the little bell that tells you when there's new videos. And stay tuned for more books. Thanks so much.